I'm with Laura Clark and Sonja Trauss, and they represent SF And how are y'all doing?
Great.
And so tell my viewers how SF got started, if you could.
Well, so Sonja's Barf and I'm Yimby. Well, together we're Yimby.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's how. Because I'm connected to you on Twitter.
Yeah,
Laura started her own club, which at the time was called Grow SF.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a club called San Francisco Bay Area Renters Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And we each had our own mailing lists of pro-density renters and homeowners, people who thought we have a housing shortage, we should build more housing.
Which is a controversial idea in San Francisco. Most people like to call it an affordability crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, what does that mean exactly? And they're like, things are unaffordable. And you're like, okay, well, what's the causal factor there? And they're the things are unaffordable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just think it's like landlord greed.
Yeah.
It goes back to microeconomics, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Econ 101,
Right.
Supply and demand. We've
Right.
chronically underbuilt housing for more than 30 years. It's time to get building. And you know, the bigger picture is the reason we've spent 30 years chronically underbuilding is
Mm-hmm.
because we have a racist institution of single-family home-only zoning that deliberately was designed to keep low-income and minority people out of neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a process that is deliberately slow in order to extract things, extract resources from developers. We have Prop 13 that artificially keeps property taxes low.
Yes.
So like Disneyland is not, taxed at all at the rate that it should be, and all of the community benefits have to come from the developers building new projects rather than, California actually taxing people and then spending it on roads and community benefits the way we should be doing it. The whole system's broken. I don't know. I could talk more, but
yeah. So we tried to fix it by providing like pro-building citizen voices at the Planning Commission meetings and at neighborhood meetings, because normally people who are supportive of housing or people who really don't care either way, they don't come out. Like, nobody's gonna be like, ooh, put it on the calendar, let me go to that community meeting to just let everyone know that I really don't care what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the way I got involved in the first place was that I got a letter in the mail from a nearby asshole homeowner who was really mad that their next door neighbor had the audacity to build a 2-unit, 2-story building where there was a 1-unit, 1-story building. And they papered the whole neighborhood being like, don't let them destroy our neighborhood by adding one more unit of housing. And I was like, well, I hate you so much.
Yeah.
And so I most people would receive that letter and would be like, oh, that's crazy, and I'm now going to throw it in the trash. And I went off the rails and started a nonprofit and became best friends with Sonja Trauss.
So you took your anger and you
Yeah.
did something constructive with it.
That's
debatable.
It's
constructive.
You're not in jail, so there you go, right? So
yeah. I intend to destroy the opposition to housing. So I'm continuing to do something destructive.
Yeah, definitely. So Sonja, how did you were talking about West Oakland off camera?
Yeah, I was living in West Oakland from 2011 until the end of last year, and in 2011, 2012, 2013.
We lost an Oaklander. That's wrong.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I went the other way.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll probably go back. And yeah, prices were rising, in West Oakland because more and more people were coming to Oakland because they had been displaced from San Francisco. And yet, in San Francisco, all kinds of people, straightforward, whatever, middle class, upper middle class NIMBYs in Potrero Hill, and also Causa Justa and other sort of anti-gentrification activists in the Mission, they were all opposing new apartment buildings, and to me it was just so
insane,
sad. It was sad and frustrating to watch anti-displacement activists oppose an apartment building, knowing that when they were successful and that apartment building wasn't going to be built, then the people who would have lived there were going to move to West Oakland and displace people there.
Right.
And I was like, that is so selfish and narrow-minded. And so I was like, you guys, the people in the Mission should have been supporting the buildings in Potrero, and supporting buildings in Pack Heights or around Balboa Reservoir, or all these rich neighborhoods in San Francisco. And, from the point of view of someone living in Oakland, I felt like I should be to prevent displacement in Oakland, supporting new building in San Francisco, which compared to Oakland, the whole thing is a fancy neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I started, I went to planning. Other people agreed with me. I had a few friends, and at first it was just like 5 of us, So like 3 of us would go on a Thursday afternoon.
Now you have a lot of friends.
Now, yeah, really, a lot of people joined because it turns out what we were saying really struck a nerve. Like, there's a lot of people out there that think that if you have a shortage of housing, you should build more housing. Turned out to be a very popular idea, easy to understand.
It turned out to be very basic too. I mean, like, all the research says this, unfortunately in San Francisco there's this fake idea that if you build more housing you're going to cause displacement. That it's induced demand. It comes from transportation stuff, which is true. If you build more highways, more people opt into driving cars, and so it's called induced demand. So we shouldn't just be constantly expanding our freeways. We should be investing in trains and other forms of public transportation. We're very pro that as well. But they bring it over to housing and they say, okay, if we build condos, we're going to cause people in the neighborhood to be displaced. And rather than saying, like, if we don't build condos, the job is already there. The rich people are out there apartment hunting. If you don't build more housing, they're coming for your apartment.
Yeah.
And that's,
absolutely.
Yeah, and like, it is that stark, I mean, we talk a lot like displacement doesn't happen when you get evicted. Displacement happens when you can't go down the block and find an equivalent place.
Right.
When suddenly it's a life crisis and you're out of the city and you're and you can't now commute to your job, and suddenly like your life is fundamentally changed. That's like, displacement happens when there's not equivalent apartments, and so the only long-term solution is more.
I feel a very long video coming on.
Oh yeah.
So I have a request.
Okay.
Tell my viewers, because but tell my viewers, I'm going to put this up now, but tell my viewers where you are online, how they can reach out.
Yeah. So if you go to SFYimby.org, that's the San Francisco specific. There's also, if you're in the East Bay, eastbayforward.org. And then those are both chapter organizations of Yimby Action, YIMBY, that stands for Yes in My Backyard, action.org. The San Francisco, we got a fun podcast you can listen to. We're on Twitter.
Follow them on Twitter, please.
Yeah, SFYimby on Twitter.
And Yimby Action.
Yeah, cool. Okay, follow them and stay tuned for the next video too. Thanks.